Dude, One Piece chapter 1039, did they just take down Big Mom? Like, I've been faked out before, right? Like, there were a couple of times where you read the fight as the fights and the chapters are rolling out and you're like, oh, did they get him? Did they finally get her? I think they got her this time. I think this time was legit. Like that huge spread at the end of the chapter where you got Kid and like Kid's just like coming down from the sky and he's got this huge gun just pointed at Big Mom. Like, dude, that is one of the most gangster money shots that Oda's ever done in the series. I love that one right there. And then you got like that stuff with Law, where Law's got that huge sword and it's going all the way down into, from the bottom of the island that's in the sky down to the island on the bottom. Like, Law was really putting it all out there, man. Like, this was good. This was good. This kind of feels like, again, like they're like, hey, you know, I only got one more thing left in me. It's like, if this was your final salvo at Big Mom, if you won, that's legendary. If you lost, it's still legendary. You can't go wrong with either way with this one, man. This was wow. Wow. Like, there were times where I read this chapter and I popped, man. Like, I popped. I was like, oh my God, did Oda just do this? And like, don't even start on the art, man. Like, the art in this chapter was absolutely phenomenal. But let's back things up a little bit. And so the chapter opens up where they're above Wano and you see Momo. Momo's once again just doing the most desperate things ever to try and keep the island from falling down onto the flower capital. And Momo has a moment where he thinks he hears someone calling out to him. And I'm curious about that one because, like, I remember like down there at, I think it was Fishman Island, Luffy could hear something as well. So I'm very curious to see what exactly it is he's hearing. However, the next thing we see is that down at the performance floor, that's when everybody's like, oh my God, Big Mom, she's been knocked out. And you see Kid, he's got that huge monstrosity. Big Mom's making the ugly face where she's got like the mouth hanging out. Like, Big Mom basically got pounded in a very sexually suggested manner, because she's like, you know, laying down and on her face. And I'm not going to go any further. Again, we got changes in YouTube's terms of service. So I can't necessarily say the things I want to say, but I will say it is kind of funny how when we hear these two talking about, hey, it's time for round 2, and you got them going back and forth and they're squabbling, and you got Law saying like, hey, I'm not going to be your opening act, you know, next time. It's going to be a situation where I'm going to be the one that ends up getting the finishing blow. And then like Kid's like, this ain't really the time for that. But I wasn't thinking about it. Like, I get the final blow and get the credit. You know, we're trying to bring her down. And, you know, Kid is trying to pass that stuff off on Law. Law's not necessarily falling for it. And the whole time they're doing this, Big Mom, she's tending to her injuries. And Big Mom takes that moment where she's like, okay, time for round 2. I'm the one that's coming. And so she's got Prometheus, she's got Napoleon, she's got Hera. She's ready for the smoke. She takes out that huge monstrosity that Kid was able to create. And that's when Kid says like, hey, that was just scrap to begin with. You're not going to be ready for the next thing that's coming. And Big Mom, there's a moment where you can tell there's some vulnerability in there, because earlier on in the chapter, she's like, man, you know, Law is dangerous. And just as Kaido was acknowledging Luffy's strength, you see it now where Big Mom is acknowledging Law's strength. And now when you look at it, when she's doing that trash talk and she's saying like, we've been reigning emperors of the sea for decades, since the days before you were getting off of your mother's breast milk. The fact that she's got to talk trash like that, it lets you know that on some level, she's fully aware of the fact that these men that she's fighting, they can actually defeat her. And she's saying that to try and play the mind games as well as to try and psych herself up. But you can tell it's not actually going to work, because these guys are fighting desperate, they're fighting hungry, and most importantly, they're fighting with actual importance. They got a lot riding on what it is they're doing. It's more than a life or death thing. And so you get this beautiful moment where Kid starts attaching all these items and weapons on a Big Mom and weighing her down. And so what Big Mom decides to do, Big Mom lets off one huge attack and she allows for the attack to move forward. And you can tell she's looking at it like, this is my last salvo. I've got to finish this now. But before Big Mom can really get into her groove and she's got Misery doing all the damage, Law immediately comes through. He drops this huge chunk of debris on top of Big Mom, sends her down, and as Big Mom is covered up by the debris, Law jumps up in the air. You can tell that he's exhausted. However, as soon as she's able to get the debris off of her, she looks up and she sees Law with that sword being extended, and Big Mom starts saying, "Not again." You can tell she's terrified, absolutely terrified of what she's seeing from Law. And you see the sword goes all the way down into the underground armory, and it goes all the way down to the very bottom of Wano itself. And you have this moment where Law is just continuing to go deeper and deeper and deeper. And you can tell he's got clear motive in mind. And by the time that Big Mom realizes exactly what it is that Law's attempting to try and do, when Law says the word puncture, Big Mom looks absolutely terrified. And what I like about this is that as Big Mom's making the ugly face and she's got the blood spurting out and she's telling Misery to go ahead and take out Law, that's when Law says like, "Hey kid, you take it from here." And you get the rivalry effect again where like Kid's like, "Hey, you don't tell me what to do." But the artwork's beautiful, man. Like the way that Kid is just drawn with that huge weapon and he's falling down from the sky. The way that the weapon's breaking through the panel and it looks like the gun's pointed right at us, but the way that everything's angled, you can tell that it's pointed at Big Mom as well. The amount of detail it probably took to draw this double spread. Like, I gotta give Oda the flowers, man. Like, I know One Piece is, you know, in the final arc and everything, and however long that's gonna last, like, this man Oda is still putting out banger double page spreads over 20 years later. You love to see it, man. This is absolutely beautiful. Oda's doing more in year 20 than some people are doing in year 5 and 6. Like, this is absolutely insane. And so what I like here is that Big Mom's got a little bit of that bravado going on. And she's like, "Hey, give it your best shot. Let me see exactly what it is that you got." And Big Mom, she ends up taking that shot face first. And Kid hits her with such a huge attack that Big Mom is screaming in agony. And Law feels comfortable enough to say, "Your era is over." And the chapter ends off there. And this is one of those things like, it's gotta be done. Like, if Big Mom comes back from this, Big Mom, I'm just gonna say it, Big Mom can be Goku. Like, Big Mom can be Goku and Saitama, Saber, all of them. She can just beat all of them at this point. Like, there's no way Big Mom should be able to survive this attack. So my question to you guys is, where would you put Law and Kid in terms of best duos? How would you rank them in terms of two-man fighting teams in the history of One Piece? Where would you put them? Would they be top 5? Would they be top 3? Would they be number 1? Would they be number 20? Let me know down in the comment section below. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.